Hello everybody, this is Asnointia here. Welcome to Asnointia Audio. So, today's topic is going to be something that I come across quite a bit during my readings. And this is the topic of hookup culture, which is very common nowadays. Friends with benefits, relationships and casual connections. Misinterpretation, misunderstandings, and assumptions. So, as many of you know, I am an empath and I'm able to, through cards, see what another person is feeling and express it to another. The amount of readings that I've done over the past few years, there's one common issue that I've seen some people go through. Mostly I've seen the feminine energy go through this, who we would say mostly are females, although males also have feminine energy. And it's the fact that there is this misunderstanding of who stands where in this type of connection. So I have things written down here, my little list. I'm going to go through it. So we start with swiping left or right. The choice is yours. Of course, people want somebody, we desire company. And there's a variety of platforms out there these days that you can use. Some target people that want to have a long-term committed connection. Some are very short-term. Some are where we have hookups. Now, something that I've noticed is a lot of people, in order to become intimate, in order to get somebody who they think they can be maybe sexually compatible with, people rush into things. This is what I've seen. And sometimes what happens is we try to force the situation, and we don't even know that we're forcing it. Here, when a connection like this starts, and these are a few, I guess you could say lessons learned from the many readings that I've done, what I've seen people go through, so you don't have to go through it. What are the intentions of both parties? What is your intention versus the other person's? Now, typically I've seen two people will get together. Sometimes they're intimate, sometimes they're not. But even if they are, there comes a time where they both think that, you know what, it's not bad, maybe we can continue. Unfortunately, what happens is, it's like a river, and I've mentioned this sometimes as an example on my other channel. There's a river and there's two boats. One boat is your person of interest boat, and one boat is yours. You start off on this journey together. However, there comes a point when that person, they go to this dock and they want to just park their boat. So they don't move forward. They're not moving forward in this river. But you are moving forward. And your river is never ending. And your journey is never ending. Your journey just keeps increasing. And you see new things. You see and find new things. You discover new things. You are changing. You are evolving. Why? Because your boat has gone much further. The person that you were with, they parked their boat way back. So they never really went further. They never really saw those things that you saw. They never felt those things that you felt. And that's the difference right there. When two people in this type of a connection get together, with the male and the female energy, or the divine masculine and feminine energy, there was a huge difference in who wants what. Typically, the masculine energy, and that could also be for a woman, typically the masculine energy is very alpha-like. It's in an alpha state. It's very logical. It's very confident. It's a leader. It's somebody who's a go-getter, an initiator. This is somebody who's very logical, rational, sometimes even emotionally distant. Not on purpose, but this is just the way some people are. And so what happens is that the feminine energy, who may just be the female, her emotions are all over the place at some point in time. Intimacy will get you there. This is just the way most females are. A male, inherently, through tradition, through their soul trauma, and I have another video on the divine masculine, their behavior, their instincts have always been the same. Not all guys are the same, not all men are the same, but there is this instinct to spread their seed and to be with many. But like I said, not all guys are like that. The problem in this type of a situation is that it is considered a friends with benefits connection. You're simply friends and you're intimate. Sometimes the hookup culture has a different kind of meaning. There is a different meaning between the hookup culture and a friends with benefits versus a casual connection. With the hookup culture, there is this intention that when you get together, there's going to be this end result. And there's no promise that somebody will stay and last with you forever. No. With a friends with benefits connection, yes, this person is your friend. But don't assume and don't think that they are in the connection because they are in love with you. They may love you. Yes, I've seen that. People adore and they love the person, but they are not in love with that person. The woman feels that this man really loves her. However, it's not actually passionate love. It's just lust. There's a difference. But she doesn't see it that way. She sees it as love. And soon he just ghosts her. He just ignores her. Why? And then boom, he's literally dating another woman. Months later, he's engaged. Then he's married the next year. How the hell did that happen? Why did that happen? A lot of females are heartbroken when that happens. Very. And the one thing I've learned from those type of readings is that it is all about misunderstanding and assumptions and misinterpreting what the other person actually has been saying and feeling and doing all along. Just because somebody's making love to you, just because they're intimate with you, just because they're touching you, does not mean that they actually love you. There's a difference there. You can pay somebody and be intimate with them. Does that mean there's love? No. Similarly, in this type of a situation where we have a friends with benefits connection, a lot of the feminine energy assumes that this is now going to turn into something bigger and better. When you start off, that is not the intention. But over time, on that river of emotion, the divine feminine energy goes forward and it starts to fall in love. The masculine stays where it is because it is able to compartmentalize the feelings and emotions love versus lust versus passion versus just somebody who's curious. It is important to understand what the intentions are and to check in with the other person. In this type of relationship, I've seen a lot of people are afraid of talking about commitment. And does commitment even have any type of footing in this type of relationship? No, it doesn't. Because that's not the definition of this type of connection. You guys are not boyfriend-girlfriend or girlfriend-girlfriend, boyfriend-boyfriend. You're not that. You're not exclusive. You're not committed. This is where I've seen a lot of people become misled. And the worst thing is, it's not as if the other person has misled you. Unfortunately, with the emotions that you're feeling, you have misled yourself. You have literally fallen in love. There is no other way to escape it. It's hard. Once you fall in love, you're in love. And it is difficult to go back. It's never easy. One of the intentions changes usually for one person, yet the other person still feels the same. This is something that I've seen with masculine energy, stays the same. They know that this is what they signed up for, metaphorically speaking. This is what they want. This is what they signed up for. This is the type of relationship they wanted because they did not want commitment. What the male energy feels, the masculine energy, what that masculine energy feels is that, yes, this is the way it is written, or this is the way it is intended, so this is the way it's always going to be. They don't change. Sometimes they do, but not all the time. The problem is when the feminine energy comes there, there's always growth, there's always prosperity, there's always abundance, there's always wanting more, intimacy, passionate feelings, love. That's just the way a woman is. The feminine energy is just like that. It's not easy to be in a connection with somebody who's a casual connection or a friends with benefits connection, and eventually somebody falls in love, but the other person's just not in love because that's not what the intention was in the first place. The intention was just to meet up, have fun, and go about your business. No commitments, nothing. The issue is when these feelings and emotions come up, there are expectations that the feminine energy usually has. And they assume that because they feel like this, they feel this mushy, soft, loving, sunshine daisies kind of love with like unicorns and daisies. They love this feeling. Unfortunately, they assume that the male energy is also feeling this feeling. No, they're not. No, they're not. The majority of the time, the male energy will not be feeling that. Here, and the reason why, before I even go further, the reason why is because the masculine energy is different from the feminine energy. We are made differently. And we're supposed to be different. We're not supposed to be the same. That's why we're different. And there's nothing wrong in being like that. That is our power as females. And as a masculine energy, that's their power. It's a beautiful, positive, negative, this magnetism. This is the way it works. It's always been like this. I also have another point, jealousy, upsetness, unrealistic expectations. Boy, oh boy. The amount of ladies that I've had to console and explain why a person's behaving this way. When you're in the when you're in the heat of the moment, when you're in love, you are so, literally so blind. And you don't want to listen to anybody. Nobody's right. We feel like we are right, and we know our feelings so well. This is an issue. When your person of interest, who you are in a friends with benefits connection with, or casual connection, or even if it was considered a hookup connection, when that person is with somebody else, you get hella jealous. Oh yeah, you get jealous. The question is, why are you getting jealous? Did you not know what type of relationship you're getting into? Not all friends with benefits are the same. Some friends with benefits literally might say, I just want to be with one person, so I'm just going to be with you. But then there's some friends with benefits and casual connections that are with many people. And they're not just stuck to one person. Hence why this is not a committed relationship. It's not an exclusive relationship. There's a difference. You cannot force or turn this type of relationship into something that the person never intended it to be in the beginning. And that's a problem, because a lot of people try to do this. There's a lot of jealousy. Why is somebody jealous? Does somebody have the right to be jealous? Emotionally, yeah, sure. People get jealous. We have the right, it's my own feeling, that's fine. But if you're jealous, are you actually jealous for the right reason? What is the use of that jealousy? You just realize that you actually might just be in love with this person. However, are they doing this on purpose? Actually, no. Most of the time, they're not trying to get you jealous or anything. You just end up becoming jealous because you thought that you were exclusive. But you were not. That was not the type of connection that you guys had originally. There's upsetness, and then there's unrealistic expectations. Just a few of my clients have told me that they're jealous because the person that they were with is hanging out more with another woman. They're buying certain gifts and certain items for this other woman that they never spent any time or any money on them, but they're spending it on this new lady. A lot of hatred, a lot of jealousy, a lot of upsetness. Why? Because of love. The lady falls in love with a man who never wanted to be committed in the first place. Did he lie to her? No, he didn't. He never lied to her. Because he knew that that's the type of connection he was getting into. That is exactly why he never became exclusive. That is exactly why he never committed. So why the expectation? It doesn't work like that. A lot of people think that they can change certain people and conform to what they feel is right emotionally. It doesn't work like that. Reasons for jealousy. Does one have the right to be jealous or angry? Sure, in your own heart, in your own mind, you are angry or jealous at what the hell happened. It's simply because you fell in love. Another issue I've seen here. You may be with this person and then, boom, they just kind of ghost you. They leave you. And you wonder for months, maybe even years, why this person never really contacted you again. One thing I've seen is while somebody, the masculine energy, okay, while the masculine energy is still hanging out with you and having fun, he is still searching for his mate as well. In the midst of all that, he is. And at some point, this individual does find somebody. Typically, I've seen that they find somebody. And what happens? They start to fade away from you because they're starting to lean more towards the person that they actually want a long-term committed connection with. Now, one would think they know you so well and you're almost like best friends and you're so intimate. So why wouldn't they choose you? Why? The answer is because of a lack of trust. I've seen this in a lot of readings, so many readings. Mistrust, a lack of faith, and a lack of trust in the actual person. The majority of the time in this type of a connection, if somebody moves on and they're not with you, it's because they don't trust you. There's a lack of faithfulness. Why? Because when the both of you were seeing each other, while you were seeing each other, and while you were intimate, you were also, some of you might be, not all of you, but you were also seeing other people too. Why? Because you were never really exclusive. And even if you never did, in this person's mind, they may think that you did, because the type of connection that you had right from the beginning was a friends with benefits, was a casual, was a hookup. And so they thought that that is you. That is how you live. That's what you live by. That's your culture. That's what they thought. And if you can be like this with them, hypocrite, right? You can be like this with anybody else. It goes for them too, no? If they can be like this with you, they can be like this with anybody else as well. The issue that occurs here is the fact that there's this massive lack of trust at this point in time, because they think that even while you both were intimate, you may have been with somebody else, and that is during the time the both of you were intimate. So it's almost as if they feel you were cheating on them while you were with them. So why would they trust you? If you did it while you were with them, you can do it afterwards too, while you're still with them. And you're still acting as though you're committed, but you might still be going behind the scenes, playing around with other people. It is a very, very strange way of thinking, but it is so common. I have seen the reason why these type of connections don't work. It's because there is such a lack of trust, because that is not the connection that it was supposed to be right from the beginning. It was not a committed connection. It was not an exclusive connection. My next point here is how a lack of trust leads to a brittle, crumbly relationship built on a foundation of desperation and misguided love. Unfortunately, there's this thought, there's this fantasy where perhaps one day we can be together, and this friends with benefits connection, or this casual connection, this hookup that we had, can turn into something more promising. Because I've never been with anybody else before. I want to be with this person for the rest of my life. This is my true love. This is what some people think. And it is just so deep that it is very difficult for the person to let go. And that's why it starts to hurt. And a lot of people that I've seen, it's the weirdest thing. You can be a friends with benefits connection, a casual connection, a hookup. You can still be and find in that type of connection your soulmate, your karmic partner, your twin flame, maybe even more. Now, because it's a rarely strong connection, it's brittle, it's crumbly, it can break any time, because what happens is when there is a lack of trust, it's not a strong foundation, right? If somebody argues, someone might just say in the argument, well, I know you, before we did this, this, and this is how you used to be. A lot of negative kind of pieces of information come back, and they kind of haunt you sometimes. Now, what does one do when they go through something like this? How do you move on? What are they supposed to do? Next steps, what to do. Logical thinking, rational thinking, practicality. And do you have trust issues with this person as well? When we are in love, we really don't think very logically, do we? And rational thinking kind of goes out the window. Practically, sometimes we don't even care if it's practical. The one thing in this type of a situation is you need to really, almost metaphorically, step out of your body. Look at the situation from an outsider's point of view, third person's point of view. How do you view this? Does it actually make sense to you? You may think that this person was very sweet, and maybe you even think that they led you on. But for some people, that's them just being nice. Everybody has a different way of dealing with people. Some people are super duper nice, and some people are kind of cold. But even people who are cold are in relationships. Sometimes we feel misguided and misled because of the way somebody might have acted. What we have to do is we have to keep ourselves in check, and the one word is assumption. Don't assume things. Just because they behave in that way, don't assume that they're doing it because they're in love with you, that they want a committed connection with you. Because over the weeks, months, years, you will be under this impression. I've done readings for people who have been together, like a friends with benefits connection, for like 7, 8, 10 years. Different clients of mine. And they're still hoping that one day the person is going to commit. They haven't done it yet. They're most likely not going to do it. Because that person is essentially also just using you. But they're not using you because they're trying to be malicious. They're using you because that's the type of connection that the both of you had started off with. Remember, their boat is a little farther behind and yours went all the way out there. You started to evolve. You started to change. It is important to think more logically, to heal, to think more rationally about the situation, to be more practical about it. Because if you're not, it's unfortunately going to really ruin your life, and you're just going to be going downhill emotionally. It's an emotional wreck that people go through. It's not good. It's not healthy. And it's not easy to think about this outside of yourself because you are so immersed in these feelings, this passion. The whole issue here is that everything started off wrong. The moment you started feeling something for this person, you need to know you might change, but this person might never change. You need to know this. Why did they leave you? They were with you for so long, but why did they choose somebody else over you? Usually this is because they feel that they can trust the other person, because the other person believes in a committed connection. They believe in an exclusive connection. They don't believe in a friends with benefits connection. They don't want a friends with benefits connection. They might have had some in the past, but to this person, this other person is completely new. And so for them being in a casual connection, it doesn't even occur to them that the person that they're with might even be like that. That maybe they might think that they never had any casual connections because that person's never mentioned it to your person of interest. Yes, it does hurt when your person of interest is not giving you the time, energy, effort that you want, that you think you deserve. But it is all because of the fact that the foundation of this entire connection, the way everything started off, was completely wrong. You wanted something that was more committed. They didn't. They never changed, but you did. Is there hope for the future? Is there any lesson learned from this? I have here a little rule. Do not assume that your person of interest is feeling the same thing that you are. I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. This is something I've noticed. Don't assume it. Even if they say it, that's great. They may say, oh, I love you. Oh, you're so amazing. You're so good. They may say I love you, but do they actually really mean it? Actions speak louder than words, right? There's people that buy people gifts who they're actually interested in. They invest that time, energy, effort, the money. And then there's some people that just get ignored and they only visit you for a booty call. That's another thing sometimes. For the feminine energy, it makes you look at some point in time very desperate and weak in the eyes of the masculine energy or even another feminine energy. The issue here is you need to be with like-minded people. If you started off with a friends with benefits connection, think of it as only that. If it's a casual connection, think of it as only that. Hookup culture, only that. If you start off as somebody who's going to say that I'm looking for something that's more committed, I'm looking for something long-term, then it makes a different impression, doesn't it? Yes, it does. The person thinks that, wow, this person has promise. This person's committed. This person can become exclusive. But you can only say this in the beginning of a connection where the person may actually believe you. If you're in the middle of a connection like this with a friends with benefits or a casual connection, hookup, in the middle of that type of connection, your person of interest might not believe you. Why? Because, like I said, there's a lack of trust. Because they think if you're like this with them, that also means behind their back, these days you might be like this with somebody else too. You might be hooking up with somebody else. Why? Because you're not exclusive, you're not committed. This is one of the major problems that I've seen in this type of a connection. And I have been wanting to do and create this audio file for you guys for a long time now. And I thought this time around I'm just gonna do it. So I hope that some of this information has been helpful. I hope it kind of sinks in. And it is something that I've seen a repetitive pattern. I've seen these patterns over and over again. It doesn't matter where the person is from. I have clients from all around the world. And emotions, love, feelings, they are all the same. Doesn't matter where you're from. These type of things that people are going through, it's like almost every other story that I'm reading. So when you're trying to be in this type of an environment, try to make sure that you really set up your boundaries and you let this person know what your intentions are. And at some point in time, because this has happened also, at some point in time, if somebody, the feminine energy, for example, if she says something like, I'm starting to have feelings for you, and the other person might just say, well, I can't give you what you want. I'm not worthy. This is something that happens, it's very common. And when the masculine energy usually says something like that, they usually do mean it. Masculine energy is kind of sometimes very plain Jane. They really do speak what's on their mind. They're very blunt. And sometimes we don't want to understand and we don't want to listen to what they're actually saying. We try to read between the lines and see, is there another hidden meaning there? In all honesty, my lifetime, I've had my own experiences, there's really not much meaning between those lines. What they say is literally what they mean. If they say they love you, yeah, they do love you, yes. If they say they like you, they want to be with you, they think you're sexy, all of that is exactly what they're saying and what they want you to hear. But if sometimes they say something like, I don't think this is going to work out, I have other issues I have to deal with, I have other commitments, usually it is actually the truth. Because I have seen a lot of readings where the male energy tends to say, I can't give you the time that you need because I'm busy with other things. And my cards come out as so many cards sometimes, just a feeling of being overwhelmed, biting off more than you can chew, spread too thin. The person's just all over the place doing so many things that they actually really cannot give you the time, energy, effort that you need. And so that way, just to kind of satisfy themselves, they get into this type of a relationship that's casual, that's a friends with benefits relationship, just because they want to have that good time, have that fun, but then also not commit to somebody. It's a lifestyle thing. Some people have it just because that's all they can have. And yes, masculine energy does fall in love. There's no doubt about that. But the feminine energy I've seen is they fall in love much more easily. And there's no harm in that. There's nothing wrong with that. That is what a female is all about. Love, growth, prosperity, abundance, emotions and feelings. And the masculine energy does have this. However, like I said, they're more logical, they're more practical, and they know what they've gotten themselves into. And so they will literally go by the book, that this is the type of relationship I got into, and now I'm out. The sad thing is, when they're out, it really breaks our heart. And you don't want it to end so fast, so suddenly, just like that. Because with females, there is that level of physical intimacy, but then also the emotional side. That also becomes very, very strong in a connection. And there is no difference between something like this, somebody who's in love. It doesn't matter anymore. When there's love, there's love. It doesn't matter if you're friends with benefits connection or a casual connection. If there's love now, there's no going back. There's no harm in falling in love. The only thing is, it's important not to assume things. It's important to be very practical and logical when you're getting into this type of a connection, because your person of interest might not be at the same speed on that river of love and emotion that you are on. They may just park their boat a bit further back. So just be aware of that. I hope I was able to provide some of you with some clarity, some guidance on this type of a situation. Let me know in the comments below if any of this has resonated with anybody, if you guys have gone through something like this, if you've experienced similar things like this. And I look forward to reading all your comments. All right then. You all take care. Stay safe. Bye now.